Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest-growing boutique cigar companies, provides smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of the perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the quality and construction that he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran signature line, Azan, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all of their tobacco is grown in their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Premium Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. This is our Stogie Geek segment for this week. And Joe Holly was just asking me, like, in between the break, like, what is driving this if you had $250 to spend in a cigar shop?
Yeah, it's a provocative question.
That's a very good description for it.
If you had $250 to spend in a cigar shop, what would you buy?
So I was in this interesting situation in one of my favorite cigar shops in the world. And I won't. The full backstory isn't important. Basically, I ended up in the situation where I had like a I just rounded off $250 credit at this particular shop, and I was like, wow, like this is, I mean, it is money that I've spent already, right?
Sure.
But it's a credit that and I guess some people might be upset they didn't get what they wanted for that, but it just so happened that I had a credit. I was totally fine with it. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, negative to a positive for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, you can find $250. I mean, if I got $250 to spend, I can find something that I would like for $250. But I had to go through this like thought process rather quickly because I was kind of in a hurry in between things, running errands. But I wanted to spend some more time thinking about like what would you if you ended up in a situation where you had theoretically $250 to spend. I mean, let's say that was maybe you won a gift card at a raffle for $250, or if it was some kind of credit, whatever the case may be. That might change what you buy, right? But you have $250 to spend. Like, where would you put it? Let's say you get a bonus at work, and you were like, hey, I'm going to spend $250 in investment in my cigars and my enjoyment of this great hobby of smoking cigars. Like, where would I spend it, right? And I think a lot of what drives where you spend, like our answers might be different from a lot of other people's answers. If you're just getting started, like if I think back to 2008, 2009, when I was just starting to really get into cigars as a hobby, like I've been smoking since the mid 90s in college, and I would never even consider spending $250 on cigars when I first started, right? But when you really start getting into it, I want to try a whole bunch of different stuff, right?
That's
where I
was going, Paul.
Yeah, so I think if you're just like really getting like discovering these new brands, you started listening to the Stogie Geek Show. I think that's different from some of the more seasoned veterans that listen to the show. So let's start with, like, if you're getting started out, like where would you go? Now we get official samples, if you could call them, right? Agreements we have. Before the FDA, we had a lot more samples, but there are official agreements that we have, so we do get samples. So our opinion is jaded, right? Because we get to try stuff. We also have relationships with the stores. They let us try stuff, even though they're not supposed to give out samples, but we'll just say we buy them to get samples, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we get to try stuff. A lot of people do get to try stuff. You have friends that work in the industry. But if you don't have that luxury, like, so you got, if it's a $10 cigar, you get to buy 25 of them. I guess my suggestion, first of all, is make sure you get at least two from a particular brand, maybe even two of each size. I think to give a fair assessment of a cigar, and we don't always follow this rule here because we have a lot of cigars to review, but to give a truly fair assessment, you got to smoke the same cigar in the same size, and you got to smoke two of them, I think, to give like the first level fair assessment of a cigar. Now, you can't have an assessment of just one cigar, but I would say go twos, right? Go in twos. Now, of course, if you go in twos, you're not going to have an even number.
Right.
So you may have to, part with your budget a little bit of your $250, but I would say go pick some twos and buy some pairs of different manufacturers, different sizes that you wanted to try of a cigar would be a starting point. What do you guys think if you're just getting started as a hobby, right? You want to fill up your humidor.
Well, when you first approached me with this question. I can tell you what I wouldn't spend $250 on.
What's
and that's
that?
lighters.
Yes.
Because
don't buy accessories. That's a great point.
I would not buy accessories. Because me with lighters, even though I did have a bunch of listeners give me fascinating tips, they emailed me at joeh@stogiegeeks.com. They gave me good tips as to why I burn through lighters.
Right.
And I followed the tips. But you know something? I think I'm just going to ask someone if they have a light. Then I'll meet a new friend, and I won't have to worry about any lighters. So I wouldn't spend it on like a humidor. Like I wouldn't buy a $100 humidor and then 10
totally
sticks.
agree, dude.
I wouldn't buy a fancy $70 cutter. I wouldn't buy any fancy lighters or anything like that. So
save that for like Father's Day, your birthday, Christmas.
Save
ask
that.
for that stuff.
I always tell people, and they're like, "Oh, well, you know, I don't know what to get you for a cigar for a gift or whatever. Just give me a gift certificate." Because then I would kick in half of the amount or whatever. So I think from an economics perspective, the consumer might say, "Okay, I got $250 that I originally spent. However, now I have this credit, so I've already spent the money." So from that perspective, what I would spend it on is I would definitely spend it on a couple of blends that I've kind of had the jury out on, but you know, mentally saying, you know, I kind of like that, but I don't like that price point, whatever it may be. $8 for some people, $15, $20, $25, $30, $40.
Well, now you're free rolled.
But now, you know, there are some $40 cigars that, you know, I wouldn't say, here's my money, give me the cigar.
But if you had a gift card or a credit.
But if I had a gift card or credit, I would do that. So I would kind of come up with a wish list for that. So maybe have a couple of those just to start.
Nice.
You know?
For me, initially, when you posed that question, Paul, I was thinking, you know, what boxes would I go with, this and that. And then come to the realization, I'm going guerrilla style. I'm a newer smoker in comparison to you guys. Been in the game a lot longer than me. I'm going in. I'm going to find 25 sticks that you know I do appreciate and like. You know, the two comparison. Grab the two Noah's Ark style. For me, I'm going 25.
I like that. Noah's Ark style.
Noah's Ark style.
That's very good. That is very good. I'm
going in on the shopping spree.
Noah's Ark style.
That could be a rating.
I like that.
Instead of a $5, go Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark. It's like a two. It's like a twofer. Yeah,
Right.
it's Noah's Ark. I like it.
I'm grabbing 25 different sticks, and you know, I think another factor is, you know, where you're at, what particular shop. You know, one of our favorites. A couple of our favorites seem to have it all, but if you're not afforded that luxury to really peruse the aisles up and down and go nuts, then you might have to, you know, gate back and go with 2 or 3 of one particular brand. But I want to touch them all. I'm still new to the game, so I want to get out there and revisit some of the ones you do love and go, you know, migrate to all the time. But it's fun smoking new stuff too, and this is your opportunity to, you know, it's a free roll. Have at it.
Yeah. Now, my other thought was, and I had recently just kind of stocked up on the stuff that I like to smoke.
Right.
But my other thinking was, well, if I have a credit, I'm just going to stock up on stuff I know that I like. And I think there's a very valid reason for that, and I go all for it. And there's probably 2 brands today, after doing the show for however many years, right, that I'm today really into, right?
Oh,
This
man.
is it.
Give it to him.
So, like, and now when this credit came to me, I had already kind of stocked up on these 2, so I was like, well, I'm pretty well stocked on the stuff I know I like to smoke on a regular basis. But if I hadn't just recently stocked up, I would have gone with Steve Saka, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Certainly the Umbagog is great. Mi Querida, great. Those are both independently, even in my regular smoking rotation. I always have to have those on hand in some various sizes from Steve. And Steve does sponsor the show and all that. That's independent of that. Like those are cigars that I regularly smoke. The other brand that I think I've probably put a dent in their inventory, both burning them and hoarding them in my humidor, is EP Carrillo. And Jose Blanco and Ernesto probably very happy to hear me say that, but it's a testament to Ernesto and all the folks he has working with him, Jose included, that he makes a fantastic product that I'm not sure why some of these cigars are on closeout, because I have found them on closeout, and I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, these hold their weight above and beyond so many other cigars in the market today. And it could, I mean, everyone's palate's different, dude. Like, everyone listening knows that everyone's palate's different. And you've heard us all in the show over the years talk about different cigars we like, don't like. And a lot of times we don't agree. I vary in specific lines within EPC. I just love, and I know they've made some changes to their line, which also may account for some of the, blowout. Like getting rid of some of the older SKUs to make room for some of the newer SKUs. That's cool. I thought that the Cardinal was a fantastic release from EPC. Picked up a bunch of those. One that I'll give you guys, I don't have it here with me, but you should smoke it on a fresh palate. That's the 2016 short run. I was like blown away by this cigar. So I would put some of my budget towards the stuff that I really like to smoke, right? I buy a bundle of the Umagog, maybe some Mi Carita, maybe a box of EPC, maybe split it up between those ones that I know. They're just so versatile. I smoke them all the time. I got my morning smokes in the line. Steve does. I mean, in Steve's stuff, in the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust line, really doesn't have a true morning smoke for me. Some of his stuff's a little too full for me, like first thing in the morning. So I would love for Steve, if you're listening, to come up with something a little lighter for my palate first thing in the morning. But once that 11 a.m. Kind of comes and goes, I'm all over smoking pretty much all of his line.
I try to force that sober mace into the early smoke, and that's my that's my favorite part.
And I know Steve smokes them in the morning. And again, everyone's different. That's your morning smoke. That's your morning smoke. That's cool. I appreciate that. I just me personally, I just have to wait till later in the day till my palate's ready for something like that. And they're all great smokes. So those are the two that really stand out to me.
Right.
I don't know about you guys. It took me a really long time to develop a regular smoking cigar, and that does it does change infrequently. It does change. I mean, there is going to come a point in time where my stockpile has depleted. Steve's kind of a great example of that. I think he's stockpiled the Liga stuff. That was the way, in his regular rotation. He may have enough to last him the rest of his lifetime. I'm not sure, and we're not all in that position. But certainly, stocking up on what you like to smoke, there's something to be said for that. And you have to smoke a lot, I think, to get to that point. And in early on, you're going to make. I have boxes of stuff that I'm like, I like to smoke that at the time, but my palate's changed, and I'm trying to steer people away from some of those decisions. I think if you're earlier on, and you haven't tried a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't know where the measurement is for that, shy away from some of the box purchases. Get fivers, get Noah's Ark, right, of those cigars, and see what you like to smoke.
I think you bring up 3 good valid points with that. With that there. Number one, if I keep hosting the show and you have a busy schedule, your stock will be depleted.
That's right. That's fine.
So that's
good.
Fire flag is raised.
So we're going reverse. So we're going reverse order with that, right? Stock can get depleted. Number 2, from a consumer perspective, you don't want to look past the humidor or section in your local tobacconist shop of blowout prices,
right?
Because blowout prices is to me, it's a double-edged sword. What happened is a local tobacconist got a brand new product, tried out. It might have not had flowed as well as it should.
Yep.
However,
a lot of reasons for that too.
Yeah, but during that time that it didn't flow as well as it should, it aged.
Yes.
Right.
Excellent point.
So you can walk through a blowout and get something 20, 30, whatever structure of your local tobacconist is, and try something or revisit something. And you're like, wow, this really tastes really, really different.
I want to add something on very important to that point, Joe, that let your friends know what you really like to smoke. Because oftentimes, I'll get busy and I won't keep up with it as much as I should, like who's selling what specials are out there kind of thing, either locally or online, doesn't matter. My friends will actually tell me now, and I'll tell some of my friends too that I know, one of you guys' favorite smokes. Right. If I happen to see that wherever for sale at a discount or they just got that in, I let my friends know. And some of my friends, Big Pete in particular, thank you, has let me know about, hey, dude, I know you like to smoke these, they're out there. So definitely be vocal and definitely share with your trade with your friends is a good point, which is another way to try a bunch of cigars. Say, hey, I just really like the cigar. I bought a box. Try a couple and let me know what you think too. And then they know, like, I know Paul likes this cigar. And now I get some emails and text messages like, hey, these are on sale now. And it's beautiful.
Very valid point there. I
Build a network, right, to keep your cigar habit going.
There you go.
A couple of the cigars I plan on reviewing in the next segment. My eyes lit up when I came across it, and limited or they're being phased out. Selfishly, I wanted to stockpile them all. However, I feel the cigar code, the friendships you form through cigar smoking, and you got to let your buddies know. You got to
let your buddies
because
know.
it's
you might end up splitting a box, but it's okay.
100%. It's reciprocal,
okay.
And I'm happy to do it. And
you always throw that out there. I mean, and you help each other out. Like maybe you're like, I want to buy a box, but I don't want to buy two, but I'd buy 2 boxes and then you split each. Like it works out for everyone if you do that. I agree.
It does.
Networking
You
is
tip
important.
somebody off, and then it does come back to you tenfold there. Your friends are an extra set of eyes in all the shops.
Yep.
And wherever we're at.
That's why I'm a fan of the rating on the show, box split with the friend.
Yes,
there you go.
Yes,
You know what I
that's
mean?
exactly why that rating exists.
Because there's nothing, if depending on if you catch up with your friends and whatnot, and you split your box, and now you can enjoy the time together. Because chances are, if they're good friends, they would smoke them with you.
Right. Yes.
They're not just going to take them and disappear for 6 months.
Which is great. Yeah, you got good company and smoke cigars, which is important. As Jose Blanco always says, right? Don't smoke a cigar with an asshole. It ruins it every time.
It's amazing.
Now, what I did was was different from what we talked about, right? I was like, once you built up that stockpile, right? You're like, now, granted, I've been stockpiling largely because I believe that prices are going to go nowhere but up, right?
For sure.
And if you have the capacity, I'm going to store the ones that I like to smoke, especially at a discounted price point.
Yep.
Like I'm stocking up. But in this case, I was like, I'm pretty well stocked on stuff I like. I'm like, I'm looking to Padron, where you really can't go wrong.
Right.
And I think it goes back to your point, Joe Hollywood, where you're like, you spend a little more on some higher end sticks with this particular credit, however you came about a credit, whether it's a gift or not. And I went with the Padron number 50 natural, which is a box-pressed Robusto-sized cigar. They're like $25 a stick, right? And I bought a box of 10. That was my $250.
There you go.
And I was like, that's something I normally, for me, a box purchase like that is like a once-a-year thing. If I know I have the budget, I've gotten a bonus, like I'll once a year splurge. It's like my once a year splurge on like a scotch, like treat myself once a year to some nice scotch, nice cigars. Normally that's reserved for that. But since I had this credit, that's what I went with. I smoked one on Saturday. Holy crap. Is this cigar, it's Oasis. It is Oasis. It is clearly Oasis. And it's funny, my friends that work at the store were like back me up. They're like, no, the natural in that line is definitely the way to go versus the Maduro, which is we know is a very controversial thing in Padron. But the natural was definitely where it's at, and that's where I spent my money. And you know what? I'm really happy with that purchase. I've got 9 more. And that's
you
it.
purchased 10.
I purchased 10, and that was it.
No
That was
buyer's
it.
remorse. Yeah, you're
No
good.
buyer's remorse, because I smoked one and I was like, yeah, no buyer. I was a little hesitant because I'm like, I only have 10 after spending $250. I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
Sure.
And I smoked one and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm happy with my purchase.
Where you going, Joe, with that one primo purchase? Box?
Well, Paul put his eggs in 10.
Right.
You said you would kind of get different blends and lines.
I
and
do
kinda
have
use
my one max out purchase. I for sure going with the Byron. That's still my.
I thought about going that way too. Yeah,
That's still my.
that's
my,
again a
my
premium
primo cigar.
Yeah, premium cigar.
I would
You
use
could
it-
go there.
If I had 250 fall on my lap, not to cut you off, that's where I'm going. But for me, where I'm at, I'm in a different place than you guys. I still got a lot to learn and to catch up. So I'm going with that guerrilla style. Get 25.
I would use it to hedge my bets, if you will, on jumping over that price point for me. So I would buy a bunch of sticks that I normally wouldn't buy within my rotation.
Like this one's 15. That's really I don't know if I'd spend 15, but you know
Right.
what? I have the credit. I'm going to buy that. Yeah, I agree.
But
That's
in
a
the
nice strategy.
mix with that, I would probably maybe go half and half, depending on how the numbers worked out. I'm not that geeky with the numbers, but I would go half of kind of the ones I've never tried.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the ones that I know that are going to be
Right.
either a
that
higher
involves a little
rating.
research and math. I agree.
The ones because there are cigars out there that I'm like, oh, I would really love another one. For example, the pork tenderloins in your humidor.
Yes.
Right. I would, I specifically tailored last episode on that whole stick. Right. So I would go with the ones that have a track record.
Right.
Yeah.
That have a track record and a higher price point that I wouldn't normally part with. And then I would use the ones for experimentation and do that. Like I would dab into, off the top of my head, I would probably get a couple of the Davidoff Chef line, depending on if, because the Chef.
Yeah, I want to try that one.
Because
Yeah,
they come out every 2-3 years.
I've heard they're
so.
awesome too, yeah.
But I've heard they're awesome and I heard they're great. And I've had the older line, but it's $40 a stick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Now you're going to take the approach, the smoke and stash
Well,
approach, or are you going to?
Oh, me?
You're just going to blast through.
Oh, pirate through them. Pirate through them.
Yeah, some of the higher end stuff you really don't need to sit on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a friend who's like, oh, I got a box of cigars from when my son was born. His son's 9 years old, right? And he smokes one a year. So, and I'm like, dude, just spend an afternoon and let's just blow through them. You know what I mean? He's like, no, I wanted it. A box of 20.
I do. I have
and then
that.
he sits down with his son, and then when his son's 18, it's going to take care of the last two. Now, he's an accountant, so the numbers work.
Yeah,
Go
he
figure,
likes
right?
numbers, yeah.
But to do that, and I'm like...
That takes a lot of discipline. That's cool, though.
Are you
I
kidding
appreciate
me?
that.
We were golfing, not this Saturday, it was raining. The other Saturday, we were golfing, and I'm like, dude, if it's a good thing you didn't tell me about this box when I before there, because it would have been gone. I would have convinced you. I would have blown it all out of the water. So I would use that for the Davidoff Chef off the top of my head. A couple of the Zeno lines.
Yeah. There you go.
A couple of
Zeno makes some good stuff.
because Zeno, I've had the Taste of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, but again, it's that price point
Yeah.
where, especially for me personally, it's not so much the price point as it is the price point not having smoking yet.
Yeah.
You know
There you
what I
go.
mean?
Yep.
Because
Valid point.
there's nothing that drives me crazy than you spend X amount of dollars and it's totally you were subject to
Yeah, it's like
marketing.
not what you expected.
It's
Yeah,
not what you expected. Or you kind of want to get what you pay for a consumer, and it's no it's no detriment to Davidoff or anything like that. But when you go with a Opus X of any kind, which I would throw in there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would throw in a couple of Opus X's in there. What it is that you're going to get. So that would be my methodology. A couple of new ones to break the price point, and a couple of their classics that I just absolutely positively love.
Awesome. With that, we are going to take a short break, come back and talk about our Stogies of the week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.